About 3 days ago, I had this dream. And everybody has one of those dreams where they can't shake the feeling for a few days, or they'll think about it for weeks. And it just kind of gives you that eerie, skin-crawling feeling. It doesn't always have to be a nightmare per se, but it's just one of those dreams that really sticks in your head that you experience. About 3 days ago, I had one of those. And it's kind of difficult for me to talk about because I can so emotionally remember the dream as if I was having it right now that it really kind of affects me. And I wanted out of the dream while I was in the dream. But it wasn't necessarily that I was being lucid. I wanted to be somewhere else. And basically, what I remember is I was in this room. It looked like an old colonial room. I could see the wood-burning stove, the old pots and pans, the old shutter-style windows, and I could see all this stuff. And I knew that I was from a period that was 1700s, early 1800s, and I was stuck in this chair, and it felt like old wood to me. It was cold, and it felt worn, and I knew that it was an old chair. And I'm just sitting in this chair, and I'm looking out the windows, and I could see these. They were creatures. They weren't animals. They weren't humans. They weren't aliens either. They were just creatures. I can't explain it. There's a game, Half-Life 2, the Vortigons. They sort of similarly resemble those, but not quite. They were very dark. They just, I don't know, it was a feeling that I was getting from them that really caused me to be fearful. I was very scared. I was very insecure. I was unsure what was going on, and I wanted out of the room. I wanted away from wherever these things are. And they were walking by the windows, and at the same time I knew that they were not aware that I was in that room. But I had a feeling like I was being experimented on. That's when the dream really started to take a turn for the worse, as far as me being very uncomfortable in the dream. I started feeling an itchy sensation under my arm, right about in this area here. And it wasn't on my bicep, it was just, right in this area here. I started feeling an itchy sensation, and I was doing this, and then I'd stop for a second. And then, and it was just that one spot, and it was really uncomfortable. Well, the last time that I started to itch, I felt something tug and pull on my skin. So I lifted my arm up, and I looked, and I saw these, you could describe them as being strings, but they were yarn-like strings. They were thicker, and they were coming out of my arm. And they were damp. They were kind of wet. And well, I kind of turned my arm over, and I started to pull on one, and I could feel the pressure behind my skin of me pulling on this string. It was very uncomfortable. In fact, I stopped for a second, and I just got queasy, and then I thought to myself, I got to get whatever this is out of my arm. And I just started tugging on this string. And I was tugging harder and harder, and my skin was coming out as I was pulling on it, and I thought, am I ever going to get whatever this is attached out? And I could feel something moving in there. That was what made it even more uncomfortable. And so I just started pulling and pulling and pulling, and eventually it just popped out. And I remember I looked at it and I held it up, and it reminded me of a clear egg sac from a spider. And it was clear. It didn't have a webby look to it, like a furry web look. It was just clear, almost like a clear plastic little ball of some kind. And I looked really close at it to see what was in there, and I could see this mouth and these legs and whatever it was, and it was moving around in there, and the ball was shaking because the thing was moving around in there, and I got just freaked out. There's something was alive, whatever that was in there, that had kind of laid its egg in there in my arm or something, and I dropped it on the ground, and it started to move away from me, and I could feel another one in there. So this time I'm yanking at it even harder, this other one, and this time my arm starts to bleed, and it's bleeding down all over my leg. I could feel it dripping down my arm, and I knew that I had to get this whatever it was out before anything was happening. I could feel it scratching on me, and it was just so uncomfortable. And finally I just gave it a good yank, and it was like part of my skin had like gotten caught on this thing, and this one was bigger, and it was moving around more, and it was looking at me, or I knew it was looking at me. I didn't see eyes, but it was almost like it was looking at me. And I dropped it on the ground, and there's blood coming out of my arm, and I'm holding my arm, and this thing starts coming towards me, and I had a feeling like if I let it touch me again, it was gonna, mount itself wherever. And I'm holding my arm, and I'm trying to just rock. I'm shaking the chair like this back and forth to try to get away from whatever it was that was coming after me. And right about that time is when I woke up. And I woke up, and I grabbed a hold of my arm, and I just kind of checked to, that's how impacting the dream was. That's how strong the dream was. And I remember I just laid there like, oh my God, that was one hell of a dream. And it really bothered me. I don't know, it's really hard to explain. It was just something that I've thought about since then, and I haven't been able to shake that feeling. It's so hard to describe it through video, to describe exactly what I was feeling. But it just, I don't know. I have no idea. But it's just one of those dreams that really has an emotional attachment to you, and it's a feeling that I haven't been able to shake yet, but hopefully it will. And it's weird, I can't explain what the dream means. I don't know, exactly what the little egg sac things were. I don't know. I don't know what it means exactly, but it's there. So, weird dream.